Who else is sick of this sodding weather? It's horrible, miserable, wet, cold. I'm sick of it. I don't know about you. Anyway, there's been a break in the rain and I decided to come for a walk. Try and get my steps in, try and stay active. You know, when you work from home, sat behind a desk all day, sometimes it's hard to get yourself motivated to get out the house, especially when the weather's like it is now. But I'm trying my best. And I'm working this weekend as well. And I don't know if people probably don't know what my work is, but sometimes, depending on the client, I can be working all day in a particular day and through the night sometimes if I've got editing deadlines, because in my line of work sometimes your clients want their content published right away or as soon as possible. They don't want to wait days, weeks or whatever. They want it up there as quickly as possible. And the particular client I'm working for at the weekend likes their stuff up fast, which means I have to work late into the night sometimes to meet the deadlines and so on. So what I like to try and do when I'm working at weekends or evenings, as I did last night, I was working quite late last night, I like to give myself some time off, and I try to be disciplined when I do that. It's easy to sort of go, oh no, well, I've got loads to do, I'm not going to give myself any time off otherwise. You know, basically I've got to do it at some point, so I might as well do it now, kind of thing. But I've become quite disciplined now at trying to give myself some time off. Otherwise, you know, you start getting burnt out and all that sort of stuff. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm having a walk. I'm just going on to the Sangs now. Let me flip the camera around so you can see. These are the Sangs. This is the Central Sangs in Deepcut. This all forms part of the new Mindenhurst development. Very well used. There's no one out now, probably because it's so bloody miserable. But yeah, really well used, and very soon the developer will be opening up the Southern Sangs, and when that's open, when that's finished and open, I can't wait for that, because that's going to link. I can literally just basically ride out my garage and on these beautiful paths all the way down to the Basingstoke Canal. So I can't wait for that, to be honest, and I think they're going to be very popular with local residents. So yeah, loads been going on, and I thought I'd just record my thoughts, as I sometimes have been doing lately. Record my thoughts about all the things that are going on. And by the way, if you're watching this, if you don't know, I record a podcast on a sort of semi-regular basis with my my very good friend Marissa Heath. Marissa Heath is also a county councillor. I think, if I remember right, she represents Englefield Green in the Runnymede area, you know, near the, if you know the Royal Holloway University. That's her area, that's the area she represents, and does a bloody good job as well. She's also the cabinet member at Surrey County Council for the environment. She's an environmentalist. She's really into things like sustainable food systems and farming and all this sort of stuff. That's her sort of area of expertise. She is an expert as well, let me tell you. That girl knows her stuff. Anyway, we record a podcast together called The Best is Surrey. And we talk about all sorts of stuff. We try to keep it positive wherever possible, because there's lots of great stuff going on. Lots of stuff, great stuff going on in Surrey. We try to sort of highlight, you know, the besties of Surrey, basically. So yeah, so that's our podcast, and we're scheduled to record one tomorrow. Haven't come up with an appropriate title for the podcast yet, but it's going to be something around, you know, the Surrey Heath Borough Council fire sale. That's definitely not something positive. Like I said, we try to keep it positive, but we don't always succeed. But we're also going to highlight something around the Lib Dems in Guildford and what they're up to. Because, you know, the Liberal Democrats put themselves out as, like, the sort of, I don't know, the Carol Vordermans of local government finance. You know, so really competent and all that sort of stuff. What you got to remember is with the Lib Dems, they're really organised, way more organised than we are, way more organised when it comes to sort of political campaigning and you know, basically you'll see one area of Lib Dems do one thing and then it kind of, they do it in another area because they're really coordinated and they're all sort of you know, pretty much do what the other areas do. In some respects, that's really good, and you know, you've got to commend them for their coordination because they're brilliant at that sort of stuff. You know, really good at delivering orange bog paper through people's letterboxes. I mean, flipping heck, they're masters at that sort of stuff. You get reams of the stuff through your letterbox. But yeah, in Guildford, it turns out. So what? Guildford is a neighbouring borough to Surrey Heath, so you know they've been in power there for, gosh, what? I think it's about 5 years or so. Let me just pause this video because somebody's coming and they might not want to be on my video. So yeah, they've been in administration over in Guildford for about 5 years now, and all the sort of stuff you hear now in Surrey Heath from the Lib Dems in Surrey Heath about how the previous administration were inept and incompetent and, you know, all that sort of stuff, was all the same sorts of things they were saying in Guildford when they took over control, or before they took over control over in Guildford. And so in Surrey Heath, they've been in control for 2 years. In Guildford, they've been in control for 5 years. Now, guess what's happened over in Guildford? In Guildford, there's a load of money that was unaccounted for. And I'm not talking, when I say a load of money, I'm not talking several £1,000s. I'm talking millions and millions and millions of pounds. I can't remember what the figure is, but it was something like 20 million quid was unaccounted for. And there's been all sorts of accusations into inappropriation of that money. Now, I'm not suggesting for 1 minute that it was Liberal Democrats that involved in misappropriating that money, because I don't know. I don't know if there's been an investigation, whether and what the outcome of that investigation is. Not really across what goes on in Guildford. More focused about what goes on in my own area than in other areas. But my point is, how can they, you know, these like these people who claim to be so competent and financially sound brains and all that, how could they have not spotted that 20 million quid or however much it was has gone missing or is unaccounted for? So you've got to ask yourselves, is that what's going to happen in Surrey Heath, and are they? Or all the claims that they're making, are they true? That's what you've got to ask yourselves. Because, as I mentioned in my previous video, there's the Chief Finance Officer at Surrey Heath Borough Council was summoned to Parliament, to a select committee in Parliament, to answer questions from parliamentarians, you know, elected MPs, about the council's finances. And what they were really trying to get to the bottom of is whether that council is, Surrey Heath Borough Council, is going bust or not. Okay. And the finance officer essentially said, and you know, this is all public information, you know, if you go on Parliament TV, it's all there, you can watch it. You know, it's not, these are not like the secret smoke-filled rooms that Surrey Heath Borough Council operate under the new administration. No. These are public meetings, webcast, with transcripts. If you've heard of Hansard, That's the transcript service of the House of Parliament, or House of Commons, whatever, Palace of Westminster. You can find out everything that is said in every select committee, working group, House of Commons, House of Lords, whatever it is. It's all there for you to see, and you can actually watch it, so you can see the whites of their eyes when they're saying it, when they're saying these things, when they're testifying under oath. You can see the whites of their eyes, and you can gauge for yourself whether or not they're telling the truth. Yeah, the finance officer went to Parliament as instructed and gave his testimony. And his testimony was words to the effect of course, like every council in the land, every single council in the land has financial pressures, and Surrey Heath is no exception. But he said, but they're not going bust. They've got sound reserves that they've built up under the previous administration, funnily enough. Sound reserves, and it's a well-run council financially when he gave that testimony, okay? And now it turns out that that chief finance officer is not there, or is on his way out. And you've got to ask yourselves, why is that? Why is he on his way out, or has already exited? I don't know. I'm not at that council, but I have heard that he's either on his way out or he has already exited that council. Okay, you've got to ask yourself why. Is it because he's not singing to the tune of the current administration? And the other thing you want to ask yourselves, was he paid off? Because the previous administration were criticised by this lot, this current administration. They were criticised for the payoff that the previous chief executive officer may or may not have got. Okay, so yeah, so I just thought I'd record those thoughts and also tell you that I've decided, because I'll be honest, I left Surrey Heath Borough Council. I decided not to restand in the elections a couple of years ago because I thought that, you know, I'd served there for 12 years. I'd done my bit. Maybe it was time to let somebody else have a go. And I was a bit bored of it all, to be honest with you. I was bored of all the political infighting and the awful behaviour of some of the opposition councillors. And I thought I couldn't put myself through another 4 years of that. I honestly believe, this might sound big-headed or conceited, because some people have said, oh, you didn't stand because you thought you weren't going to get elected. That's not the reason at all. Actually, had I stood, I honestly believe, hand on heart, this might sound big-headed or conceited, but I thought I would have had as good a chance as any of winning my seat back. And why is that? Because I put community first, not party politics. And I have demonstrated that time and time again. If you're a new viewer, or if you're a new follower of my social media, just go back. It's all there. You'll see how many times I've defied my party whip. You'll see how many times I've stood up for the community, even though it was my party's administration that was making the proposals. You'll see that time and time again. You've only got to ask any resident in Mitchett, Frimley Green or Deepcut, even the ones that are not Conservatives, even card-carrying members of other parties will tell you, you know, with me, it's community first and then party. And it's always been in that order, where the current lot, and you've only got to see their deadly silence over these issues. You know, the fire sales, the selling off of the Deepcut car park, the selling off of Holyhead Road recreation space with those beautiful redwood trees. That turns out, by the way, those trees don't have TPOs on them. I think you might find that the current administration was rather hoping we wouldn't spot that, but guess what, we did. And there's a few other things that I've not said yet that we've spotted. I've got to get me facts straight on these things, so I'm just looking into that right now. And if it turns out to be true, there'll be more videos coming. But, you know, these councillors of the administration at Surrey Heath Borough Council right now, and the MP, are putting party politics before you, okay, the community. And these are supposed to be clever people. You know, I've said before in another video, the MP is a professor. Yeah, do you get any cleverer than a professor? I don't know. I don't know what you've got to do to become a professor, but you would assume, wouldn't you, that that they'd be pretty clever and could come up with some more radical ideas and more out of the box ideas than going, I know, let's sell off that tiny car park in Deepcut, that's worth a few quid. And I know, let's sell off the recreation space at Holyhead Road with those beautiful redwood trees. Who cares if the trees get chopped down? We don't care. What we care about is a few extra quid in the coffers, okay? So that's clearly them, and they're really, really closed ranks as well. You know, you've got some people, surprising people actually, because I'll be honest, all right. You know, there are two councillors at Surrey Heath Borough Council in the administration who I actually, until all this blew up, I actually rated. Only two of them. One of them is on the Heather side, he's a Heatherside ward councillor, and the other one is a Frimley Green ward councillor. I'm not going to say their names, not really that important. The Frimley Green one has stood against me in every election in Mitchett and Deepcut, the borough elections. Couldn't get elected in Mitchett and Deepcut, despite his best efforts. Decided to move over to Frimley Green, and he got elected there, and fair play to him, and actually he's done a half decent job as well. So I can't knock him for that. But what I can knock him for is getting behind, very publicly, getting behind this, and these proposals to sell off Deepcut Car Park and Holyhead Road recreation space and another asset on the London Road. He's got right behind that and enthusiastically supporting it. It's funny, he sent an email to a constituent the other day, and he said, I'm sorry I can't answer this question or whatever, but I'm going to copy and paste an email that an expert, he's referring to Lord Lucan of Deepcut, that he's the expert. I replied privately and said, planning expert, don't make me laugh. He's not replied to that. He's probably put in a complaint to the monitoring officer, which is what they do when you hold this lot to account. Instead of taking it on the chin or giving a cogent response, they just report you to the monitoring officer, because they don't like being held to the same levels of scrutiny and accountability in which they held us, the previous administration, to when they were in opposition. So anyway, they're my thoughts while I'm out on my walk. Bit rambling and ranty, I know. You don't have to watch my videos. You can switch them off. No one's forcing you. But if you want to know what goes on in your council, I'm your man. I've decided to use my platform now, start paying a bit more attention to what's going on. Excuse me, I'm a bit out of breath walking up this hill. Start paying a bit more attention to what's going on at Surrey Heath Borough Council. And I don't really want to do that. That's why I never restood again. But going to start doing that now. And actually, now's the best time to do that, because with the very latest innovations in AI technology, it's actually quite easy to do. You know, so I can run their YouTube videos, the webcasting YouTube videos, through an AI, and it can look at it, what was said in the meeting, who said what they said, what's behind it, does it contradict their own policies, all that sort of stuff, and then share that information with you guys. So it's a lot easier now than it has ever been to pay attention to what they're up to.